under the circumstances, um, he has done a pretty decent job. Recruiting is at a level that has never been seen before at Penn State, even with Coach Paterno. Um, it just haven't been that perfect mix, that perfect balance. He hasn't been able to um, have a no deficiencies throughout recruiting. We had a couple of great running backs, or the offensive line hasn't been where it needs to be. But I think right now, in his eighth year, uh, that it's finally coming together. Expecting big things, especially this year and within the next couple of years. Recruiting has been great over the last couple of years. Last year, I believe, was an anomaly. And I think we're going to see Penn State back um, in a national presence, competing for championships. Last week, I want to talk about the Wisconsin game. It was a hard-fought game. The first half looked like last year from an offensive standpoint. Clifford looked a little bit like he did last year. And I don't know if it was Yurch's play calling that kind of handcuffed everything. We weren't able to run the ball much at all. Matter of fact, we wasn't able to run the ball, period. We had 43 total yards in offense in the first half, and we were blessed or fortunate. And I believe that great teams create their own luck. That with all the moving up and down the field that Wisconsin was doing, somewhat between the 20s. Defense did tighten up once they got into the red zone. That Wisconsin wasn't able to capitalize. Right after the second half, everything changed. Big plays. Coach Franklin was preaching and talking about all summer that he needed an offense that have explosive plays. And for the most part, that came into fruition in the second half. Dotson is unbelievable. Nobody could guard this kid. Top easily, I believe it is a top 10 receiver in the nation. Breakaway speed, great hands, and he showed his worth. And Clipper got in the rhythm. They made quick adjustments, quick passes to start off in the second half. Little bubble screens here and there before they opened up, going deep on a couple of occasions. And that's one thing. The knock on Coach Franklin is that number one, he hasn't been able to win quote unquote the big games, which I think is an exaggeration, because according to a lot of the fan base, big games are subjective, and it's only the big games, the big games that he loses are the ones that he never wins. But they discount the other games that are possibly technically big games that he does win, and it doesn't really matter, i.e. bowl games, so on and so forth. But one thing I will agree with them is that winning on the road, which has always been tough, especially for Penn State historically, especially over the last 20, 25 years, winning road games against ranked opponents have been very tough for this program. And that has kind of trickled in with Coach Franklin. I believe his record, he shouldn't be held completely to his record. I believe, honestly, the first 3 years of his tenure at Penn State should be held to he should be held to the first 3 years. The program bottomed out. I'm not going to go too deep into the story, but just giving it, my opinion and my synopsis on everything. The program has bottomed out, and he had to do a rebuild from that point on. But ever since, I'll say about the fourth or fifth year, um, everything's been on the up and up as far as building this program, getting depth at the roster. The only thing missing that we haven't had that elite quarterback play. We had very good quarterback play under Franklin, but we haven't had that one elite Heisman type prospect. We've had a 5-star prospect that was prior to Coach Franklin, and that be that as it may, it turned out the way it turned out. But we haven't had that elite prospect, and we do have some kids coming in over the next year, and possibly the following year, as far as quarterback, and that quarterback room will become deeper. And those are some of the things that, if you look at the teams that are constantly in the quote unquote fixed playoff system, if you're not in the SEC or whatever the case may be, or Ohio State, those schools have elite quarterback play, and that's been the difference for the most part between Penn State being a very good program transitioning into something that is a great program. So I'm looking forward for the rest of the season. But last week, he did make some great adjustments. The defense stepped up. This defense looked like this is probably the best defense. And it's everything is hyperbole, and everything is an overreaction after one game. But he did have the defense did have they looked like the best defense since I would say '99, and the '99 defense with Arrington, Courtney Brown, those guys was an elite defense, and that's the type of ball that they played last week. Ellis, unfortunately, got a bad targeting call. I don't think that was targeting. That he will miss the first half of this game with Ball State, but he just carried on and continued that middle linebacker tradition. The whole defensive line, Mustapha and them boys, and the kid from Temple, they showed out. They showed out. They came to play, and the back end. The back end, the safeties played great, made some key turnovers. The Penn State forced 2 turnovers. They had 3 turnovers. And all 3 of those turnovers Wisconsin had was inside the red zone, which is dangerous. You can't win games that way. Most of the time you can't. But it's better. Sometimes it's better to be fortunate. I won't even say lucky. Sometimes it's better to be fortunate than good. And, we were very fortunate last week. The defense was on the field 95 plays. That's a lot of time on the field. But they, under those circumstances, they played great. Kids were cramping up. Kids were hurt, coming back in, making plays, and that's all you could ask for a young group that is transitioning into a great group. The offense looked a lot smoother in the second half. The running game opened up a little bit, but the passing game was definitely on point. If Clifford had a little bit stronger arm, Dotson would have probably had 2 bombs. One was a little bit underthrown, but he was able to make the catch and adjust. But I'm looking forward to see more growth from Mr. Clifford and the rest of his offense. This week's opponent is Ball State. Ball State is the reigning and defending champions from the MAC. We dominate the MAC. So just on a historical level, this should be a blowout. And one thing I will say is that even under Coach Franklin, and even with going back to Coach Paterno, games like these can be tricky. We played in a few over the last few years, games like this where we're expected to blow teams out, and they hang around, and then the game becomes a lot closer than it should be. Ball State have a pretty good offense. Last week, Ball State played Western Illinois, where the first half was pretty much the first half of that game was pretty much like the Penn State Wisconsin game, where there wasn't really much of anything going on in the first half, but in the second half, everything got exciting and blew up. Now, Ball State has a couple of good players on offense that we need to take a look at. Quarterback Drew Plitt, he had 188 yards last week. He threw a bomb to probably one of the top receivers, not only in the MAC but in the country, Justin Hall. That's his go-to target. Defensively, they got a couple standouts. Defensively, Brandon Martin and Bryce Cosby are their two of their better defensive players. Penn State comes into the game as a 22-point favorite. Penn State comes into the game as a 22-point favorite. My prediction for the game, and like I said, this is brief because kickoff is in the next couple of seconds, is that Penn State will win big, but late. I'm predicting the final score will be 41-17, pretty close in the first half, and we pull away in the third and fourth quarter. So 41-17 is my prediction for this game. Kickoff is in the next 30 seconds. I will be coming back after the game and give my live synopsis of my instant action and reaction on the game, and enjoy the kickoff. Fight on, State. We are, and I'll see you after the fourth quarter.